Hello? Are we here? Are we live?
We're live.
We're live. There was no countdown.
No, because I don't have it branded right.
Oh, that's all right. Hello. This is no one asked us. Not the best day Milani postgame show. This is an off-season update from Craig and I. He's Craig Choate. I am Logan Lee. Coming to you here on this lovely Tuesday evening as we officially get into the college basketball off-season now that the tournament has come to a close after Florida's win last night. Like, share, subscribe, get in the comments, get in the chat. Let us know what's up. We'll take your thoughts, answer some questions. But yeah, I mean, I think there's some things have happened with Illinois basketball, with the transfer portal, and Craig and I obviously have been on this roller coaster just as all of you have. So we thought we would at least hop on here and chat for a little bit just to kind of give our thoughts on some things. Just off the cuff, right up the top, Craig and I are not newsbreakers. We're not here to dive into things that are not being reported behind paywalls. So any of that stuff we're not going to go into. If you want that information, you know where to find it. We're going to talk about the stuff that we know has happened, that has been publicly reported, players that we know are gone, players that we know are coming in, those type of things. Hello, Craig. We haven't spoke since the Kentucky game. We did a couple Twitter lives or whatever they're called.
Yeah, we did.
For a couple of late postseason games, but we haven't done an actual YouTube in a while. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. It's honestly, it's my favorite time of year. Well, I shouldn't say that. March is really my favorite time of year.
Yeah.
I love portal season. As
much as conference realignment season?
I have a rocky relationship with the conference realignment anymore. It's really kind of gone down the shitter for me. But yeah, no, we're here. We're going to talk about Illinois basketball, the offseason stuff. We might touch on Final Four championship game a little bit. Maybe we'll talk a little baseball towards the end too. Let's get into this thing, shall we? So Illinois basketball, last we talked, I guess, was after the Kentucky game. So at that point, nothing had happened off-season wise. But since then, obviously, we've had some additions, some subtractions, some surprising, some non-surprising. At this point, still a few names that have not committed to anything. So let's kind of go through some of these things. I don't remember the exact order of all of these, but Trey White and Merez Johnson, I think, were the first to go.
I think
correct?
Kerry was first.
Kerry Booth was the first to go, correct? Which was obvious that was happening. I have some questions about that.
Tough couple of weeks for the Booth family now.
Yeah, I have some questions about his new location. I wonder if he'll stay there if Dad's not. But yes, Kerry left, and we knew that was happening, and then Trey White, I think, was the next departure, which was a little bit of a surprise. I think that most people kind of had him penciled in on this team, but I don't know. He'd be in 3 schools in 3 years. Wasn't a huge surprise that he made that 4 in 4 years. Now he's going to Kansas. We can dissect that too if we want to, because I have some thoughts about that as well. But then the first big domino to fall was Merez Johnson, who basically the same day or day after Trey White's announced that Merez was leaving.
Was first.
I was thinking Trey was first, but you might be right. I don't have all of that stuff in front of me. So Kerry left, Trey left, Merez left. Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn is gone. Again, that one. Not a huge surprise, especially as you look at down the stretch. Playing time kind of dipped. So those guys are gone. We have had commitments from Kylan Boswell. The big surprise, Ty Rogers coming back, which I think shocked some people. Tomislav Ivicic announced he's coming back shortly after the announcement that Illinois got his brother, Big Z, from Arkansas. So he's the new addition at this point. And then last night, or Jake Davis also said he's coming back. And then last night was the announcement of David Mirikovic.
I don't know.
So from Montenegro, who's a 6'9" power forward who plays like Nikola Jokic, apparently. I don't know. Okay, so I just kind of rattled off a lot of names here, a lot of ins and outs and all sorts of things. Obviously, the Merez thing was the big surprise, and I'd say Ty Rodgers is probably the second big surprise. So just looking at these names, what were your thoughts here? Kind of maybe going either one at a time or as these were happening. You know, you and I haven't really talked a ton about these things. I know Illinois, the fan base is was a little taken aback by the Merez thing. What were your thoughts on that? Were you as frustrated as everybody else?
Carey does not surprise me. Dre does not surprise me. Trey and Merez both surprise me. Probably Trey more than Merez, honestly, because I was initially pretty PO'd with the Merez one. And then I believe it was you and me in text were like, he's just not a big that Brad likes to have on the roster.
Yep.
His style does not fit in the reports that I saw about some conversations that I don't know whether they're true or not. If they're true, man, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I've seen some things. I don't know specifically what you're referring to in this moment, but yeah, probably.
The way he wanted to play and Brad didn't let him take outside shots and he got put on the bench if he did take an outside shot. Like, I don't believe any of that. Now, do I believe that he wanted to play like that? Yeah. Do I believe that Brad told him not to do it? No. So that Merez, it's kind of whatever to me, as crazy as it sounds. I don't, that's not the kind of player that Brad wants. It's plain and simple. Like, he does not want a 275-pound just rock in the paint, which Kofi was, and that's the example, but Kofi was generational.
He's the exception.
He's the exception. He is a generational big in college basketball that you mold your team around. And Brad did that and had some success, but he didn't want to do that.
Yep.
So Merez, I'm okay with, and especially now with what's happening, there's some rumors swirling around about that situation that he went to. Trey surprised me because I thought Trey White was fantastic outside of his sickness or whatever he had. And then I guess he was pouting around after as he was coming out of his sickness, he was pouting around about his role, had a talking to with Brad. And after that, like in the postseason, the last 2 months, 6 weeks of the season, he was one of the top 4 players on the team. So I don't know what his thinking was. Because I would have liked to have him. I liked his toughness. I felt like he was kind of a Ty Rodgers-esque player with a bit more of a jump shot. Obviously, we don't know how Ty's jump shot is looking now after the redshirt season, but I think Trey White surprised me the most of it all. Of the 4 that left, I don't. And obviously, I had some words Friday night when they didn't get the commitments from the guys that they thought they might get about, what are we doing? But I don't think losing those 4 have much of an effect on next year's roster.
Losing the 4 players that left the program is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, and yes, I was looking back through our conversation. I mean, just look at the track record. Dane Danger, Amani Hansberry, Merez Johnson. These are all 6'9".
Amani can stretch it a little bit.
Well, and Merez is pretty athletic. But these are 6'9" centers. That's just not what Brad wants. Not to say that I'm not going to say that I wouldn't want Merez Johnson. And I think
if he stayed, he would have been a fan favorite. We would have loved
the
him.
question of the question at hand right now is, do you want, because it sounded like it was either going to be Tommy or Merez, apparently. And I get it. I don't know how well you were going to be able to play those two together at the same time. I know we saw a little bit of it, and I know we like the idea of it. Was it actually going to work in practice? I don't really know. But you also have so much money that you can divvy up to players. So the question is, do you want 1 year of Tommy, or do you want 2 to 3 years potentially of Merez? And I think you can dive into that. I don't think there's many people that would argue that Tommy's not the better player right now. But you're probably only going to get 1 more year of him. Whereas Merez, you might have got another 2 years out of Merez. So I think that's really where the big question was for me with him. To your point, he's the only one that I can really sit here and say that I do wish would have stuck around. The Trey White thing didn't surprise me at first. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, okay, well, if he wants the ball in his hand more, if he thinks he's that kind of player, go get it. Then he went to Kansas. That doesn't make any sense to me. That's where I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but whatever. 4 years, 4 schools in 4 years, plus however many high schools and prep schools, who knows? So if that's what he wants to do, that's fine. Dre had fallen out of the rotation. I mean, at the end of the day, Dre's a player you'd like to have on your bench, but probably deeper on your bench than what he wants. So probably be better for him to go probably down a level or a little bit, half a level. Maybe take the Merez route. But who knows? And then, Kerry Booth, obviously, I think there was some hopes that he would be a bigger contributor than he was. I mean, there's not a lot of those 4 other than probably Merez that I'm super upset about. Getting Kylan back obviously was huge. Getting Tommy back was huge. Tommy was probably your best player this year. I know he didn't get the accolades. He's not going to be the first round draft pick or the lottery pick, all those things. But just he allowed you to do so much. And you really missed him when he wasn't on the floor. So not only getting him back, but also bringing in his brother, who you can argue who the better brother is, but the point is that you have 2 of them. And how much they play together, we don't know. We won't know that for a long time, how well that will work. But the fact is you can have one of them on the court at all times. That's pretty good. That's pretty good to have. So I think that's a great starting point for where you're at. I love getting Ty Rodgers back. I've been on record saying this. I think he's a great guy, and I think he wanted to stay. I don't think Brad didn't want him to redshirt, and I don't know that Ty really wanted to do it himself, but he saw the writing on the wall. He saw what the situation was going to be, and he made that decision. And then after Merez and Trey left, it really opened up a spot for somebody like Ty, who, you hope that he has improved as a jump shooter and maybe as a ball handler. But I don't think you can go into the next season with both Merez Johnson and Ty Rodgers. I just don't think you could do it. You can't have them both on the court at the same time. Not the way Brad wants to play. And when you're only going to play about 8 guys deep, having both of them just wasn't going to work. So I'm thrilled that Ty is coming back. That just means you have to have a group of shooters around him. And so far, looks like that's what they're building. They're putting shooters around Ty, and you hope that he will have developed some sort of a threat from the outside. So yeah, I wasn't too terribly shocked or all that hurt about the ones that left. We talked about Big Z. I think that's a huge addition. Physically, he's also huge. I just think having him and his brother together will be great for a lot of reasons. And then this other guy that just kind of came out of the woodwork from Montenegro that they brought on, that signed last night or committed last night or whatever, who's another back or front court guy. who can add some size and some physicality, do some things. I don't know how much he's going to stretch the floor for you, but he kind of just seemed on paper to me kind of like some sort of hybrid between Ben Hummerkaus and Merez Johnson. Maybe I'm making that up, but he's probably more physical than Ben, but has a better jump shot than Merez, that type of thing. But yeah, obviously we don't know a lot about him other than the fact that he's a big Lego guy. I pointed that out to you last time.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so that's kind of where we're at right now. We just kind of wanted to reset some things. Obviously, there have been reports about other guys that are out there. We know they were going after players like Josh Dix, Bryce Sanford, Jalen Sellers was another one from UCF that they were reported to be very in on, and I know you were very vocal and very frustrated about not landing those guys. Now that the dust has settled a little bit, how do you feel about that? Do you still feel as strongly as you did?
I fell in love with Jalen Sellers. Watching his highlight tape from that YouTube account that posts all the transfer portal highlights, I watched him and mini Terrence Shannon. He's a miniature Terrence Shannon. He had so much muscle, lefty shooter, great in transition, just a physical 6'4", I believe. Yeah, physical 6'4", 205. I know he sat out last year with I believe back injury, so that's concerning. But Terrence did the same thing. Terrence had a back injury coming into Illinois, and he was great for 2 seasons. So I just fell in love with Sellers from watching him. I thought he would be a great complement scoring guard for Illinois. And I think my issue was you lost him to Providence.
Yeah.
And even Dix, you lost to Creighton. Now I know Creighton; they've won.
That's a little different.
Some respect. It's different.
That's a different situation.
Yes,
for a number of reasons. But
because
the Providence
his family,
thing, yes.
he's from 5 minutes. Dix is from 5 minutes away from Omaha. I think they said his mom is sick, so different situation. But losing Sellers to Providence, the only thing I can think is that Brad and staff wouldn't guarantee him like a starter spot, and I'm sure Providence is going to give him the ball.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably what it boiled down to. So that was my frustration Friday, was that you lost him to Providence, and I loved what I saw on tape from him.
Yeah.
So
listen, I like what we've built, what Brad and the staff has built so far. I think you have a good solid foundation of both the Visich brothers with Kylan, with Ty, getting Jake Davis back, this signing from last night. I think this is a good, strong foundation. The obvious holes here are the perimeter scorers, your guards, your wings. And you can't, I think that's probably what happened. I think you're right. I don't think that the coaching staff was willing to give Jalen Sellers the promise that he was going to be a starter, because I don't think that's what you shoot for. I think you have to be aiming a little higher. I think there's some options on the table that may still be in play here, both in the transfer portal and maybe even from your current roster. We can dive into that, that are thought to be in play, and those are bigger fish than what Jalen Sellers would have been. And honestly, in my opinion, Josh Dix. And I know a lot of the message boards wanted Josh Dix and everything, and I wasn't against bringing on Josh Dix at all, but my thought has always been, if he was going to be your guy, like, I was going to be a little underwhelmed if that was your biggest offseason addition. Would have loved to have had him, but I don't know if you could have got him and insert player name here. So yes, the Dix thing was obviously frustrating, but I understood that. The Sellers thing, yes, losing him to Providence did sting, but I agree. I think that's what happened. I think the coaching staff didn't want to promise him the minutes that he thought he deserved and that he got from Providence. So yeah, that one was a little more frustrating to me. There are some names that are out there now. Some of them have been reported publicly. Some of them are behind a paywall as far as who Illinois is seeking. Dame Sarr is one that's been out there for a while, the freshman from from Italy. He will be a freshman from Italy, who sounded like months ago, or at least several weeks ago, things were pretty locked up with Illinois. But I was supposed to be like, if Will goes to the NBA, one of those situations, which I don't exactly know what that means, but now it sounds like Duke may be in play there, could be the NBA, could be in play. We're not exactly sure what's going on with that situation. And then there have been some other names that have been thrown out there. I don't know what's public and what's not. And I don't know what we need to go into. But I do know that there are other names that Illinois is currently seeking. And then there's also a few holdovers.
Spreadsheet going.
So are any of these other names public?
What other names?
The ones that
on the spreadsheet?
Well, I haven't seen your spreadsheet in the last.
There's not many on there because I haven't seen Illinois connected to many publicly.
That's the thing. Yeah. There are some people reporting some things that I don't know that we need to talk about because it's not on Twitter or anything. So
it's on Twitter. It's just not from. It's not from.
Do you want to talk about it?
It's not from accounts with a profile picture. It's from accounts with an avatar or accounts with an egg. You know,
Ian Jackson, North Carolina.
You said it, not me.
Yeah, it's a name. Just saying, it's a name.
There are obvious connections. We'll just say
there are obvious connections. It's a name. If you want to find it, you can go find it elsewhere. But there are names out there that Illinois is connected to. I would rather talk about the fact that I don't think that the Will Riley to the NBA is a total lock. I said that to you in a text a few nights ago, and I think you thought I was crazy, but every passing day, I feel a little bit better about that. We know KJ's gone.
Don't get your hopes up.
KJ's gone. He's a top 10 pick. About Will, I'm not getting my hopes up. But
what if he's not, though? What if KJ's like, I want an all-European Illinois basketball team? Lithuania, Italy, Croatia.
They can't. At this point, they can't afford it.
Canada.
At this point, they cannot afford KJ and Will. I wouldn't think. I don't think that's happening. I think KJ's definitely gone. Will, I also think, is gone. However, his draft prospectus is a little more. It varies a little bit. How people view him. So I think that's really going to depend on what the NBA tells him. But I think he is certainly still in play. And if you get Will Riley back with that team we just talked about, I think you're set up pretty well.
Yeah.
I think that would be that's the goal. Is if you can get Will back. If you can't get Will back, if you can get a Dame Sarr, if you can get one of these other guys that they're linked to, great. But you need more than what you have right now, and everybody knows that. And it's still early. It's only April 8th. It wasn't until late May that they had signed KJ and Will and whatever.
Perfect segue. Year. I saw this on Twitter.
I love it.
Hat tip to witty remarks.
Uh-huh.
Did you see this?
Great account. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. I hadn't seen this, but yeah. Yep.
For the audio only listeners, it's a little graphic that I'm assuming he worked up of the 2024 Illinois offseason transfer recruits key dates. April 1st, Jake Davis commits. There's a little line that says, "We are here," which is April 8th. That's the only commit they had at this point last year. April 9th, Trey White. April 14th, Kylan Boswell. April 16th, Kerry Booth. April 30th, Ben Humrickhouse. May 6th, Thomas Slavovicic. May 28th, Kasper Siakachonis. June 23rd, Will Riley. 3 best players didn't commit until after Cinco de Mayo.
It's gonna be a long offseason. That's good. But I think we're already several steps ahead of where we were last year, because at this point last year, yes, as you said, we have some retention now. We didn't have that last year.
Hashtag the retention.
Hashtag the retention.
Brad Underwood.
Yeah, this was what we've heard about was the 2-year plan. Will the 2-year plan totally work out? I don't know. 2 of your best players are probably going to go to the NBA, so you're going to lose some of that. But yeah, the retention is huge. Kylan, Tommy, Jake doesn't count towards last year, but like He was a member of the Elite Eight team 2 years ago. He's been on this team the whole time. He's been on the sidelines. He's been like another assistant coach. He's been with these guys in practices. So like that is retention. Jake Davis is retention. So already just those 4 guys alone, that's huge. Jason Jackson was on this team last year. I mean, he was redshirting. He was there. Like that's retention. That's more than what Illinois had last year. So you're already starting at a better place. Really, all you need to do is go out and get another couple guys. One of them has to be a guy, like a true guy. If I don't think we can start this season with Kylan Boswell and Tommy as your 2 best players and expect the world. I think Tommy can be a all Big Ten caliber player, and I think Kylan can too. So like I think it could work out. I think it could work out, but I think you still need more. You're not going to walk into the season with Jake Davis as your starting 2 guard. So
is it totally asinine to expect anything from the 2 freshmen? Well, I guess 3 freshmen now.
I don't think it's asinine, but I think the expectation is that you will have at least 3 or 4 guys in front of them in the rotation. I don't think it's asinine. I think I could certainly see a situation where one of them plays themselves into it. But right now, you have to add more. I think you have to add a starting guard who can be, had the ball in his hands, be a guy. I don't think it would hurt to have a backup point guard. I don't know if that's what they'll do. I don't think it would hurt, but either way, I think you need another guard coming off the bench. So I think that's at least 2, and then potentially another post guy too that I know they're potentially seeking. Because right now your front court, as good as it is, the Iviciches, plus the other guy from last night, and then Ty's probably your next post player who will probably play some minutes at the 4, but I don't know how often you want that to happen. You got to go out and add some dudes.
So
you don't need a lot of dudes, but you need some dudes.
I have questions.
I would love to answer them.
Do you think Ty was promised a starting role to come back? Or do you think he would have to be willing to accept a bench role?
I think Ty's starting.
Okay.
I think Ty's starting. I think right now you're looking at Kylan, Ty, Tommy for 3, for sure 3. I think I wouldn't be surprised if both brothers start.
That was my next question.
I don't know that
Tommy and Big Z start together.
I think they will both start. I think they will play first 3 or 4 minutes together, and then after that they will be on a rotational basis. But I would imagine that they will both start. I think you're looking at a starting lineup right now of Kylan, Ty, both brothers, and then whatever your other wing is, whether that's Will or Dame or whoever, somebody else. That would be my guess.
That name we mentioned earlier, you think that would complete the starting 5 if they got him?
Probably, yeah.
And then Sar has to kind of accept a Will Riley. You're Correct. Coming off the bench to start the year. If things break your way, you can start. You can break the starting lineup.
Correct.
Okay.
That's how I've understood this, especially when everything originally posted about Sar, and this has been out there for a long time, so like I'm fine talking about it. But like he's only coming if Will goes to the NBA. It's one of those like Io Adam Miller situations. Like obviously, like it's not like these guys have bad blood. They're from 2 completely different parts of the world. Like they've probably crossed paths on some international teams or something. But no, that had to be like he would play that role, and that role spent most of the season coming off the bench. So if that's what he's expecting, if Dame's coming and wants the Will Riley role, like he knows that there's a good chance he's gonna come off the bench and be the 6th man of the year. Like I would be fine with that if I were him. But I know.
Did you see his measurables today?
I saw somebody shared it. Yeah.
So Sar and Markovich are both at the what's it called? like Basketball Beyond Borders or something like that.
Yes.
Someone tweeted it. Now I should have
Sturdy.
bookmarked it. Was it Sturdy?
I think it was. Well, maybe it wasn't Sturdy.
I thought it was Richie.
Maybe it was Richie.
Yeah, it was Scott Ritchie from the News Gazette. Nike Hoops Summit World Team Measurements. Sarr is 6'7.5". He's been reported as 6'6" everywhere. 6'7.5", 189. His wingspan, 6'11 3/4. His hands 9 inches and his hand width 10.25 inches. That's the largest hand width on the entire team. And then Merkovich, 6'8", 255. That is a brick, you know what house, with a 6'11 wingspan and 10.5-inch hands. Actually, he's the biggest hands, 10.5 inches. Sarr's second. They have the two guys Illinois is in on this world team have some of the best measurables.
Yeah.
Have the best measurables on that entire roster of 12. Like, I'm not huge into that kind of thing. Like, I think the NFL Combine is the stupidest thing that the NFL does. But looking at that on paper, that's some potential right there, especially those wingspans and hands.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Sarr's height is shocking to me.
Yeah.
I thought he was like a 6'4", 6'6" guy, but almost 6'8".
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, going back to the whole will he start, will he not thing. I mean, if he's the big addition, if Will doesn't come back, if the other player we mentioned doesn't come back, if they or doesn't come in, if they don't get another big fish and they get Dame Sarr, I'm fine with him starting because he's going to be on the court with a bunch of older guys. That wasn't the case last year. I didn't want to start both Will and KJ because the guys around them weren't exactly the most experienced players either. But at this point, you'd be starting alongside a senior in Kylan Boswell, juniors or whatever both of Visich brothers would be. I would be fine with that, but I would still prefer him to be like the sixth man. I want that situation again. Yeah. I think that's the best case scenario for everybody. But if that's not how it plays out, that's not how it plays out. I'm sure he would be a fantastic addition regardless. But you still have to go out and get him, which sounds like that's not necessarily a guarantee at this point either. Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at now.
A name I don't know that has been mentioned, maybe mentioned.
AJ
Where does Ben Humrickhouse fit on all of this?
Yeah, so I've been I'm not exactly sure what's going on with Ben Humrickhouse. Obviously, he has not publicly said anything. He's not said he's coming back or said he's leaving. My gut after the signing last night told me that was probably the Humrickhouse replacement. But if Ben Humrickhouse wants to come back to Illinois and play in a more limited role, I'm sure the coaches would love to have him. And I know he was a very polarizing figure with the fan base, but if he's your seventh man, I think he'd be a 6th-year player or whatever at the college level. Like, he's a good shooter. I know he was frustrating at times last year, and I know, like, I'm not saying people were expecting him to be Marcus Damask, but after seeing the jump that Marcus Damask made, I know people were disappointed that, like, Ben Humrickhouse didn't make even something remotely close to that. But I think just having a 6th-year player who can play the 4, can play a small ball 5, can shoot the ball really well. If he's comfortable coming back to Illinois and playing as your like 6th, 7th, 8th man, I'd be fine with it. And I think most Illinois fans should also be fine with that. Will he want to do that though? I don't know. I don't know. He could be done for all we know. He could be like, I don't want to do college anymore. I'm going to go try to play professional basketball somewhere or whatever his life takes him after this. So I don't know where he fits exactly because it's hard to know without knowing what the rotation is going to be. But I don't see a situation where he's anything more than like the seventh man on this team. Maybe even the
If
eighth.
that.
Maybe
Yeah.
even the eighth. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's rare today to see someone take less for a lesser role. Everyone's looking for more for a bigger role. So unless he just really wants to play in the Big Ten and be on the team, I just don't see a spot for him. He's obviously getting over recruited. I feel like they're looking for better fits on this team. Yeah. I probably agree with you that I wouldn't mind having him back, but I just don't know how much.
Yeah, I don't know where he fits. But
I was gonna say I can't think of any time where I watched a game and I was like, oh God, Ben played great. I don't know that he had any really major contributions to the roster last year.
I mean, I think he had moments. I think the problem with Ben Hammerkaus is that he played too much. I think you saw too big of a sample size of him.
Yeah.
The fact that they blatantly missed on the Kerry Booth evaluation hurt Ben Hammerkaus. It hurt Ben Hammerkaus. Not that Kerry Booth was going to start over Ben at any point, but when Ty redshirted and Kerry Booth became unplayable, you didn't have a choice. Like Ben Hammerkaus was your only. You only had 3 true front court players at that point, and he was one of them. And the other two spent weeks of the season either hurt or sick. Yeah. So like you didn't have a choice.
Foul trouble.
Yeah, like you didn't have a choice. Like I'm not. Ben Hammerkaus was always going to come into that team, and he probably was always going to start and all those things. But I do think you saw too much of him because of those situations. Had Kerry not been like as bad as he was, had Ty not redshirted, all those things, like you probably would not have seen as much Ben Hammerkaus, and you might have seen better moments in smaller periods of time. But instead, you got 25, 27 minutes per game of him, which was too much. Like he shouldn't have played more than 20 minutes a game on that team. He shouldn't have, but they didn't have a choice. He had to. And I think that's what hurt him. I think that hurt him in the eyes of the fan base because, he should have just been he should have just been more of a shooter. And he had to do a lot more than that. And he wasn't ready for it. That's my take.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking of a comparison, and it's not looking at the numbers. It's not really accurate. Obviously I watched a lot of Louisville this year. And they had Rain Smith, who took 317 shots this year, which is a ton of shots. 282 of them were 3-pointers. Like, if that's a role Ben can play, but he's got to make them. That's the thing. He only made them at a 34% clip this year. That's a role that he might be good at, is literally stand in the corner, go up and back and forth between the corner and the free throw line extended 3, and just do that back and forth. If he can make those, then sure, but I'm leaning more towards I hope they find someone else. That's just me.
He played 25 and a half minutes per game.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have. He just shouldn't have. That should not have been. It should not have had to happen.
But I mean, I know it's hard to do the math. What's his average after, in like February on? He didn't get to 25 the last.
Yeah, I don't know.
8 games of the year. After Wisconsin, 22, 14, 24, 21, 17, 22, 17, 13. Yeah. Like he barely got to 20 in any of those games. So
right. No,
I guess if he's moving to that role for less money and he's not taking up your NIL, I guess that's fine. But
no, to your point, I don't know how he fits, and I don't know if that's the role he wants. So we'll just have to see. I think
didn't exactly turn into Dalton Connect like John Fanta thought he was going to.
No, he wasn't even remotely close
Love
to,
Fanta,
to
but
Marcus
that's a
Damask.
bad take.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I wouldn't mind having him back in a much lesser role, a role that he should have had last year, but I doubt that happens. And honestly, that's probably for the better. They've already kind of gotten his replacement already, almost two of them, honestly. Although they're also kind of Marez replacements, but so yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now with the roster. I don't know if there's anything else. As I said, Kylan, Jake, Ty, both brothers have said they're in. The signing last night, Mirokovic, Keaton Wagler, or Brandon, one of them
Brandon Lee
tweeted something. Looked like he was playing on sticking around. You never know with this stuff. Like,
yeah,
you just have to.
I don't think there's
always
any intention
be
that
on
they
the lookout.
leave.
And now you also have 15 roster spots. So,
yeah, that's a good catch by you. I did not know that.
Yeah, 15 roster spots now. So,
let's take a look at the chat. I've got a couple.
Yeah, go ahead. Hey, chat. What's up, chat?
Very, right at the start, as soon as we got on here, Larry asked, do you think if we get another good guy in the portal, we are a Final Four team? Way too early to talk about that.
Yeah, way too early. I think if let's just throw out a name. I think if Will Riley comes back, which I understand that that's probably not extremely likely, but I also don't think it's out of the question. If you add Will Riley to this roster and you add maybe one more reserve piece, I think this is a Big Ten title team. And if you're that good, then yeah, I think you have as good of a shot as anybody. Now, the Big Ten can't win a national championship to save their lives, but I think if you're the best team in the Big Ten, I think you have a pretty good shot of, being a Final Four contender. We'll just have to see. I think it just kind of depends on what they do. You disagree?
Watching those games this weekend, Illinois would need 3 more Will Rileys to play this weekend.
That is true.
I don't think Illinois is close right now.
That's fair. I will stick by what I said, though, with if you are the best team in the Big Ten, you can put yourself in a spot. Michigan State made the Elite Eight.
If Illinois gets Will Riley, Dame Sarr, Ian Jackson, Robert Wright III, and one more big, they might make the Final Four.
Okay. So I'll say yes, but Craig will say no. What else you got?
This is just a personal thing. Logan, are you a Pacers fan?
Go Pacers. I don't know. I got the shirt. It's fine. I'm like Craig. As soon as I move somewhere, I acquire the stuff.
I don't know how to say this name.
I've been to a Pacers game.
A Y? OAWI. I'm glad Davis is back. He plays his role well and doesn't seem to be okay with it. And doesn't.
It says doesn't, but yeah, he does seem to be okay with it.
Yeah,
I agree. I think we knew that Jake Davis was the first guy to sign to this team last year, and coming from Mercer, I think I'm glad Jake Davis is there. Again, I don't think you go into the season expecting him to be anything better than your 8th man. If he's your 8th man, you're probably in trouble. But I think he's a fine rotational piece that can come in, get you some hustle points, sink a couple threes, and call it a day. I'm fine with Jake Davis because he's not going to cost you a lot of money either.
Yeah. Davis would rather have Davis on the floor than Ben Hummerkaus, if I'm being completely honest. I don't want to spend too much time on this.
You sound like the rest of the fan base.
Don't want to spend too much time on talking about Marez and all that, but Marez going to Michigan seems very spiteful too. Of all the schools, that's the one you choose. Did that add anything to it for you?
Well,
it was funny because the initial list got tweeted out, and Logan immediately texted me
and I tweeted it too.
Really?
It was underwhelming.
The first you could do.
The first
and then
list.
The next day, it's 3 Final Four teams in Michigan.
The initial list was extremely underwhelming. Teams that apparently were connected to Marez. I think there was definitely a little bit of that with the Michigan choice. I thought it was funny that they then immediately went out and signed another portal transfer that really feels like they recruited over Morez already, although I'm sure
There's
they'll play
another
them,
one.
they'll play them
Crystal
both
ball to him.
together, but
Did you see the latest crystal ball?
I guess not. No.
The 7'3" guy from UCLA,
Oh, really?
Adim Mara, is crystal ball to Michigan now.
Well, then Morez is probably going to go somewhere
And,
else.
I mean, he's not helping his cause because he's deactivated his Twitter and he took Michigan out of his Instagram bio and deleted the commitment post, which the commitment post is now back. So yeah, he's not helping himself. But yeah, there's some rumors swirling there about Morez.
Yeah,
Would you take him back
would I take him back?
if he
No.
decommits and said
Not
he
at
wants
this
to come
point.
back? Would
Not
you?
at this point. No. No. I mean, I could see a fit for him somewhat, but I have questions about how many front court pieces can you have on this team. You're only going to play two of them at a time. You have at least three right now. No. The answer is no. And I'm sure he'll be a great player. Go be a great player somewhere else. But no, after all the BS that you pulled, that you reportedly pulled, no, I'm good. Pass.
Okay.
Next.
From Philip, what position does Ty actually play next? Or I'm going to add next year. He played all over 2 years ago.
He plays.
I think he's a small
Swiss
forward.
utility knife.
He's like a 2/3.
He's a forward. He's a forward. He can play the 3. He can play the 4. He can play the 1 at times if you need him to. If you're going to stick to the traditional basketball terminology, he's a small forward, but he can kind of do everything except really shoot a basketball. I think he starts at the 3. I really do. And I don't know that was necessarily promised to him to get him to come back, but I just have a hard time unless they go out and get 2 more bona fide wings, in which case maybe even start him at the 4 at that point. I mean, maybe you only start one of the brothers, or I can't imagine Mirokovic is going to start necessarily, but they could add somebody else too. But I think he's going to start at the 3, would be my guess.
Yep.
If not the 4.
Jay, in here, can they just close with Sarr plus Jackson and be done? Would that be enough for you?
Well, that would fill up your roster. To your point, I get what you're saying. To your point, is that a Final Four team? I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty talented roster. You'd probably still need one more spot, whether that's a big or. Yeah, it'd probably need to be a big at that point. I still think this team needs a real point guard.
What if it's Sarr, Jackson, and Hummerkaus comes back?
I think you're done.
You're done. But is that a good team?
Yeah.
Big Ten contender?
In the Big Ten? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to win the Big Ten, but yeah, I think that's a just based on the experience alone, I think it's a more talented team than we even had this year. And this team had 2 first-round draft picks. So from top to bottom, at least, there may not be the top-end talent. But yeah, I think I'd be comfortable if that's what happened. Yeah. I would like to have seen them go out and get a real point guard. I think Kylan's good enough and will be fine. Not necessarily, I don't want to go down the KJ freshman stuff again, but I was kind of hoping there'd be a experienced mid-major guy that just wants to come up and play at the high major level, and but I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to get more dominant wings that can score. So whatever. So yeah, if that's what happened with those 2 and at a post with that Hummerkaus, yeah, I think you lock that in. I think that's a Big Ten contender. For sure.
Last one I got pinned from Trevor. Way early preseason rankings come out and Purdue at 2. Am I missing something?
Braden Smith.
Yeah, and
I
about
TKR.
said Trace Jackson Davis.
TKR.
Kaufman Wren. I believe they lost 2 guys, Heidi and First, but they added the transfer from South Dakota State. They get their 7'3" guy back who was out with injury this year. I mean, rankings at this point for
Yeah,
next
they're
year are
useless.
the most useless thing of all time. But I mean, everyone saw the graphic in the Sweet 16. Purdue's the only school of them that had all 5 start their career at Purdue.
Yeah.
There was one other that had 4 of the 5, Michigan State maybe.
Michigan State was, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's what Painter does. He develops his guys. This year he did go get a transfer, and it was a really good one. So yeah, I see it. And when you got the Big Ten Player of the Year coming back like they do, 2 in the country might be a little high, but at this point, that's probably right before everyone else adds the rest of their roster. So yeah, that's all I got in the chat.
Yep. No, I saw somebody else had asked about the whole, if both brothers would start. I saw there was a conversation about that. I mean, obviously we don't know, like it's April. Like we got to stop really being concerned about who's actually going to start on this team and who's not. But
yeah,
personally, I have a hard time thinking that Big Z wasn't, I'm not going to say he was promised he was going to start, but I don't think it's out of the question that they're both in the starting lineup when the season starts. I don't know how much they'll play together. I think you could see it for a few minutes at the beginning of each half, and maybe that's it. But I think when you have 2 players like that, as talented as they both are, unless they go out and add 2 more bona fide starters, I think they're both going to start, would be my guess. But I could be wrong. So yeah. Anything else off-season related that you want to get into that we didn't cover? Obviously there will be more additions. I know Illinois, everybody is actively talking to, recruiting other people. And we've already heard of names that didn't ultimately come and all that stuff. But I mean, right now, obviously it's an incomplete because it's still April 8th, but as of right now, can you give the offseason a grade so far?
No.
Like, just even based on who's gone and who said they're coming back, like, are you happy? Are you?
I'm content. I wouldn't say I'm happy. I mean,
what would have made you is Sellers? Would that have made you happy? Is Merez staying or Trey staying? Would that have made you happy? Is Will saying I'm not gonna saying screw the draft?
I think
I'm
yeah,
gonna come back.
I think Will and maybe even Will and Trey saying we're coming back. I think I'd be like, okay, you've got 5 guys back from last year's team plus. I don't know if you get you probably get both the commits still. So I think probably those 2. I don't think Sellers himself added to what they currently have. I would have been like, oh yeah, I'm happy. I think he had the talent to be a starter, to be that.
I'm not saying
starting
he didn't.
combo guard, but
I'm not saying he didn't. But if you think you can also potentially get Will back, or if they have other guys that they think might be going to hit the portal or whatever, like, can you really is he good enough to do that and then lock yourself out of something else? Or I think that's the question that was in play there. Like, yeah, I don't disagree with you, but at that point in the offseason, is that the player that you want to tie yourself to, promising him that role and those minutes and all that stuff?
I mean, that's the thing with the portal is it's very early in the process. Do you want to make commitments now when other guys could pop? And that was a conversation on one of the message boards, was that agents are so involved in this now that coaches likely know before seasons end what players are at least thinking about the portal.
Yeah.
So if they hear rumblings and that person's not in the portal yet, you're not going to commit to somebody or guarantee somebody a role when you think someone better is coming along. And that's what's gotten Illinois in trouble in the past. Ray J. Dennis, which I hate. I hate that Brad does that. because it does bite you in the ass sometimes, but there are going to be names out there later.
Let me close out this conversation with this question. Is there any one player that has either been a part of the program and left, or that was tied heavily to the program and didn't come, that you can really look at and point at and say, we lost that one?
Oh, God.
Like, that was everybody. I mean, if you want to say Brandon Pajemski, go ahead, but I'm gonna no. That's my response to that. Is there? I mean, is Ray J. Dennis the guy? Like, is that the one that got away?
I don't think so.
Was that last year or was that 2 years ago?
That was last year. I mean,
he wouldn't have played on this year's team, right?
Here. No.
He would have played on the team 2 years ago. The team 2 years ago that went to the Elite Eight. Like, are we really holding our hat on Ray J. Dennis was the one that got away? Was he going to take us to the Final Four? They did pretty well without him. That's what I'm asking, because I know people get upset about all the players that have left the program and all these players that Illinois was tied to or whatever. But, like,
this is something that I would have to look up, this question. I don't know off the top of my head who we've missed on that really went on to do really, really good at their next stop. Like the transfers out of the program.
Well, that's the other thing.
Have not done anything.
That's the thing that everybody talks about. And I know that people, as soon as Trey and Merez left, the world's on fire because Illinois can't retain players, everything that happened last year, whatever. Other than Coleman Hawkins, who I think we can both agree would have helped this team, who else that you lost last year was really going to do that? Dane, I guess, but Dane had to go essentially down a half level to be an all-conference kind of player. We saw what he did at Illinois. He was a mid-major killer. Like who? Luke Goody? I mean, yes, you would have liked to have had some of these guys, but, like, were you really missing them that much?
I'm looking at last year's spreadsheet of transfers that Illinois was in on.
Mm-hmm.
And none of the ones that they missed on really move my needle.
The kid from Stanford, I know they were tied to at one point. The tall kid.
Maxime Reynaud?
Yes.
I didn't even have him on the list because he never entered the portal.
Okay. That makes sense.
I mean, John L. Davis ended up at Arkansas. He was okay.
AJ Storr was terrible.
Kobe Brea, they were linked to. I don't know how far the conversations got.
Would have liked to have had the shooter.
Yes, but he was an Antigua guy because he's from Washington Heights, New York. So that would have been someone, but I don't know how, like I said, I don't know how deep those combos got. Case and Pryor, the guy that came here to Louisville, he was pretty good in the 7 or 8 games he played this year. He was their best player. But other than that, no one from the list last year really would have improved this team, I don't think.
There you go. I know people are all upset about the retention, lack of retention, and players leaving and all these things. And I think that conversation is quieted down after they got the commits from Kylan and Ty and whatever. But the Ray J. Dennis thing, I know you've brought that up before. It's like, was he the difference? Was he the difference between an Elite Eight and a Final Four? Like, I don't know. Like, that team was pretty good without him.
Yeah.
Whatever. Anything else Illinois basketball related?
We've been talking an hour.
Thoughts, Final Four thoughts, tournament thoughts, championship game thoughts? I didn't win any money in your. I did win $25 from your
$25.
squares.
Yeah, I need to get those paid out tomorrow. No, I thought it was I thought the Final Four was spectacular. The Final Four was exactly what I want to see after the first weekend. I want to see the top 4 seeds second weekend on. I First round upset is fine, but I do not like seeing the Florida Gulf
Cinderellas.
Coast. I don't like seeing the Florida Gulf Coast getting annihilated in the Sweet 16 game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was what I wanted. Now, getting there, I didn't think it was a great tournament for that. I don't think there was a lot of dramatics. Pretty chalky, as everyone said, but I thought that's the way this team went. Not this team, that this season of college basketball went. I thought there was 4, sometimes 5 teams head and shoulders above everyone else, and that proved to be the case. I think Auburn's probably the best team when healthy. I thought they were a little banged up in the Final Four, but Florida was a worthy champ. Houston was slept on all season. I feel like what they did this weekend was incredible. They probably should have won last night, but you could argue that Duke probably should have won Saturday night. So, yeah, I thought it was a great Final Four. Leading up to it was just mediocre, but it was still enjoyable because it's the NCAA tournament, and it's perfect as it is, and it does not need to expand. If anything needs to change, they need to make the first 4 the 8 last teams in.
I have agreed with you on that, but I'm starting to. I think it should expand a little bit. Not much, but I do think, and the reason being is,
Did you see the bubble this year?
I understand, but the reason is that the number of Division I teams has increased since we expanded to 68. So, yes, I understand what you're saying, and I understand that argument, but I think that because more and more teams are becoming Division I, that number needs to be reflected. Now, ultimately, what's going to happen is that's just going to be more crappy high major teams that get those spots, and that part sucks. I wish there was another way for that to expand and that to not be the case, but yeah, that's the reason why, and I don't necessarily disagree with it. But
do you think there would be something to expanding because the gap between high major and mid major is widening?
I think I don't exactly know how to answer your specific question, but that has me thinking about other potential things that could happen down the road. The gap is definitely widening, and that is very obvious, especially now. I think at some point, now that we're going to have the house settlement and everything, I think the transfer portal stuff will change. So I think some of this stuff will level itself out a little bit. So I don't think you'll see quite the stark difference, but I don't think it'll ever go back to what it was. And I do think that's a large reason as to why there weren't as many upsets. And I don't know, it's not like there aren't going to be upsets in the tournament, like there always will be. But I think that I wouldn't be surprised if this were to continue on like the way we're going for a long period of time. I think you would definitely see a correlation. So is that a reason to expand? I don't know about that, but I could definitely see a scenario down the road where Division I is a lot smaller, or this tournament is a lot smaller. The teams that qualify for it are a lot smaller because they have, like football, have essentially separated themselves from everybody else. That's the thing that everybody loves about the tournament, is that you can have those teams, and you can have those upsets. But
that's what I texted you the other day. Yeah. I could see a scenario where it turns into a football model where they have FBS, FCS.
I don't remember us talking about this, but yeah, I mean, I think the whole thing's going to change within the next 15 years.
Yeah.
I think the NCAA model is going to go away. The NCAA as a whole might go away. I think you might have a 60 school thing that does its own thing for football and probably even some of the other sports. And then there's going to be something else. So yeah, I think the tournament will expand a little bit. I could see them adding another 4 teams or so, which I don't think would be the end of the world. But yes, it's ultimately going to be just more of the shitty high major teams that don't deserve to be there. But,
Yep.
All right. Any early baseball thoughts before we go?
No.
How are your Cardinals doing?
They won tonight.
Oh, that's
Hung
good.
on, but
That's great.
about 500, which is about what we expect. Offense is great. Just
Can't pitch.
pitching is terrible.
Cubs are playing well. Sign Kyle
Got 'em
Tucker.
on
Extend
right
Kyle
now.
Tucker. Do all the things.
I don't know if that'd be a good move financially for the Cubs.
They need to do something, or they're going to lose the fan base.
Yeah, I don't think they need to sign Kyle Tucker.
What do you think they need to do, Craig?
Not sign good players.
I see. You're using your Cardinal fan hat is on as you're saying that. I thought you were just speaking as a baseball person. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. No, I think that they absolutely need to extend Kyle Tucker and need to continue to build around him. They got so gun shy.
How old is he? Is he 30?
30 yet? 29, I think.
Yeah.
But
there is something else college basketball.
Oh, great. He's 28.
So twofold question here. Just answer the first question before we move on.
Okay.
What's the better job, Texas A&M or Maryland?
Oh, I love this game. Texas A&M or Maryland? I'm going to say Maryland.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
What's your take on the whole Kevin Willard and how he handled that situation?
Poorly.
You don't like the honesty? You don't see where he's coming from?
I mean, I do, but obviously you're going to piss people off on the way out. But I mean, I guess, I don't know. I don't think it was handled very well, but I can see your point.
Who scares you more as an Illini fan, being the Maryland coach, Kevin Willard or Buzz Williams?
Maybe Buzz Williams.
Because they've been our kryptonite.
Yeah.
So maybe Willard leaving changes that, but he's a good coach. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would leave the oil money of Texas A&M. But that's Buzz. He leaves every 5 or 6 years for a new job. So,
I mean, there is a lot of money there. But I think that, I don't know. I think basketball in Maryland means more than basketball in College Station or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I just think it's a better job. I get the money thing, and it's the SEC and all that stuff. It's Texas, but at this point, you're what, the 3rd biggest program in the state of Texas? Maybe sometimes you're the 2nd, but like right now, Houston has been to how many Final Fours, and Texas is Texas. So you got on the East Coast
there too,
and you would think the East Coast would be a powerhouse of basketball, but honestly, Maryland and Villanova are about the only schools up that part of the country that have had much success on a consistent level. So
St. John's
on a consistent level.
Yeah. All right,
let's shut it down.
I've got stuff to do.
Okay.
got a dog here.
Okay, take care of your dog. All right, thank you all for hanging out with us, checking us out. We'll do this again at some point when we have some updates, college basketball wise. But we just wanted to chat about some things. So he's Craig, I'm Logan. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. We'll